anytime I get thinking about it, it's anyway. Yeah. That's the way I've been doing because I don't have my finances set up like I had it before, so I have to do it that way until I get caught up.
What you gonna do when you have one percent what you pay? See, that's what you wouldn't make your credit.
I got a small.
Pick up your copy of the Son of Man Speaks magazine today. With the Son of Man Speaks magazine, you'll receive automotive tips, wholesome recipes, financial advice, and most importantly, a true understanding of the Word of God. Get your copy of the Son of Man Speaks from these select locations. Sisters, Braid 2, 18070 Mount Ellie, the Shell gas station, 13110 West 7 Mile Road. To get a subscription, call 601-786-9788. That's 601-786-9788. The Son of Man Speaks magazine, dedicated to becoming free indeed. Attention, brothers and sisters, viewers and listeners, now available. Your Son of Man Speaks magazine digital subscription. Your digital subscription to the Son of Man Speaks magazine will also include our monthly e-newsletter, both delivered to your inbox. If you have any questions regarding the digital magazine subscription or digital newsletter, you may send an email to shabazprinting@thenewnationofislam.com. That's shabazprinting@thenewnationofislam.com. Or call 1-601-786-9788. That's 1-601-786-9788. You can also subscribe online. Visit www.thenewnationofislam.com and click on the magazine tab to register for your online subscription.
We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together and rebuild the city, and we're actually doing it. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is a local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
To make your online tithes, offerings, donations, gifts to the Son of Man through Cash App, make your payment to $New Nation of Islam. That's $New Nation of Islam. Or call 601-786-7056. 601-786-7056.
I just used your other one though today because it did 2 drips and I was like, oh, I can use my umbrella. My homegirl was talking about it. I'm like, don't talk about it.
With our umbrellas, our customers are turning a drab day into a fab day. After all, representation matters. In other words, rain or shine, we've got you covered. Introducing Designs by Deej, your one-stop gift shop for all things handmade and unique. Our products range from our most popular umbrellas, blanket and pillow sets, handmade coasters, and other statement pieces that showcase the beauty of our melanin and natural hair in a beautiful and empowering way. You can find our brand at the sister shop locations in New Jersey and Atlanta, Georgia, or you can visit our website, www.designsbydeej.com. Again, that's www.designsbydeej.com.
SOS Graphic Design provides agency-quality professional graphic design services from established companies to startups and individuals, creating a simple logo to complete rebranding and delivering visual communication with print media. Everything SOS Graphic Design does has a single unifying objective: to set your business apart. We are at your service. Call 313-342-2166. That's 313-342-2166, or online at www.sosgraphicdesigns.com.
Are your clothes coming apart at the seams? Universal Seamstress and Tailoring has got you covered. At Universal Seamstress and Tailoring, we specialize in a wide variety of alterations and transformations to make and keep your clothes looking and fitting their best. From hem jobs to downsizing suits and dresses for a perfect fit to replacing zippers and buttons, Universal Seamstress and Tailoring is your one-stop shop for clothing maintenance. Also, do you have a logo for your clothes you'd like to wear? Universal Seamstress and Tailoring can put it there. That's right. At Universal Seamstress and Tailoring, we not only do alterations, but embroidery as well. Shirts, pants, coats, hats, even bags. If you can wear it, we can embroider it. So remember, whether it be alterations or embroidering you need, Universal Seamstress and Tailoring has got you covered. Universal Seamstress and Tailoring is located at 1404 Main Street, Fayette, Mississippi. Come and see us or give us a call at 601-786-0540.
Year-Around Landscaping has been serving Metro Detroit for over 20 years, offering various landscaping, lawn care, property maintenance, and home renovation. Our professionalism has earned us an outstanding reputation, while our creativity, integrity, and dependability have kept our clients returning and referring us to others. At Year-Round Landscaping, we prioritize quality customer service. We treat every client as our only client before, during, and after providing our services. We believe in building solid relationships with our clients and ensuring their satisfaction. Whether you need a complete outdoor makeover, indoor renovation, or routine maintenance, We have the expertise and resources to deliver outstanding results. Our team is committed to providing exceptional service and completing every project to the highest standard. To schedule an estimate or consultation, please call us at 248-843-6139 or visit our website at yearroundlandscaping.net.
Year-round landscaping. One source, unlimited resources.
For elite carpet, floor, and upholstery cleaning, call Supreme Steam Cleaning. For pressure washing on your house and driveway, call Supreme Steam Cleaning. Flooding in your house or building? Supreme Steam Cleaning's got you covered with our emergency water extraction services. Transform the rooms in your home with floor installation, repairs, and more. Give us a call today at 601-720-5138. That's 601-720-5138. Visit our website, www.supremesteamclean.com, and follow us on social media at Supreme Steam Cleaning. When you need an elite team, call Supreme.
For all facets of professional hair care and braiding, come to Sisters Braid 2, located at 18070 Mount Elliott in Detroit. We specialize in braiding and natural styles, knotless box braids, feed-in braids, scale twists for men, women, and children. We specialize in all facets of healthy hair. Try our natural oils to keep your hair healthy. 313-826-0498 or 248-372-1738.
Out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray, he's downfield.
Oh man, the power's out again.
You have reached Quality Construction and Engineering, your #1 emergency generator source.
Power outages can be unpredictable, inconvenient, and disruptive to your life. With a backup generator, your life goes on uninterrupted with power when you need it. Not to mention the peace of mind of having your property suited to weather the storm.
Whoever would have thought in Houston, Texas, that we would have an ice storm? It did happen, and that Sunday night when it came in, I got up and looked out the front door. Everything was pitch black. It was horrible. Something out of a novel or a science book that you had never seen before. Once the lights went out, my generator popped on. It ran 55 hours, and the only one had lights.
Get your backup generator installed with Quality Construction. We install both residential and commercial generators, so you're always covered. Schedule your consultation with us by calling 1-855-876-9370. That's 1-855-876-9370. Or visit us online at www.powerqec.com. That's www.powerqec.com. Financing is available with low monthly payments and 0% interest for 18 months.
That was the best investment that we could have ever made. That's my backup, the generator.
Generators with Quality Construction, built tough enough to weather the storm.
Capital Area Planning Services offers a variety of services catered to your land development needs. We offer landscape design, residential design, land planning, mapping and consulting services, and more. We have over 20 years of design and land planning experience. CAPS LLC offers services to developers, builders, architects, surveyors, contractors, government agencies, and private landowners. Feel free to contact us to find out which services are available in your area. You may reach us at 601-326-2966. That's 601-326-2966. You can also visit us on the web at www.capsllconline.com. Let us put on our thinking caps to serve your land development needs.
The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scripture and not really understanding what you read? And if you're reasonably sure, have you ever tested that what you feel you know with someone that has a different view than your own? Then let's talk with one another. Then let's reason with one another on a Scriptural Discussion with the Son of Man every Wednesday at 9 p.m., Friday at 9 p.m., and Sunday at 12 noon on WHPR TV Detroit Live, 88.1 FM WHPR, and Comcast Cable. Why don't you call and discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning? You can call in live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. That's 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. And now, let's go live with a Scriptural Discussion with the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just, I greet you all once again who are hungry and thirsty for the true understanding of the Holy Scriptures and for the truth in general. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. Let me say this before I conversate with any of you that may have something you want to say. Look, I've been doing the work that I'm doing now since 1973. And you've heard, and some of you have experienced how I rub you the wrong way in your mind. And you've heard people come in here and throw insults at me, and black and white. And through all of that, now, just remember, I've been doing this since 1973. Do you honestly believe if I was not sincere, I'd still be doing this? If I didn't care about you, I'll tell you what, people that you don't care nothing about, do you spend a whole lot of time talking to them? It's not a one of you that, even those who say they care about me, you don't care nearly as much about me as I do you. I know it. Your actions show me that. You know, it's not that I expect you to, because you're not me. You don't know what I know. I know y'all's potential far better than any of y'all know your own potential. If one of the reasons I'm called Son of Man is because the sun is what brings out the potential that's in all of the seeds, not just with its light, but with the pure water that it sends back down after purifying it and giving it back. What would happen to all of the plant life
on the earth if the only water you could find is salt water? They would either have to evolve or they'd die. I ain't no friend who only stick by you when things is going good with you. If I say I'm your friend, I'm with you to the end. To the end of your life or to the end of my life, and to the purpose that you trying to achieve. I'm with you to that end. It's just like you, look, I'll show you an example. White people. When the last time you heard a black man that stood up and condemned you as devils and all of that kind of thing, and then turn around and remembered the Underground Railroad and John Brown and all of them people, and then said, as your advocate, that they will help you to save your country? You think I'm just standing here saying these things? Would you do this? I told you I listen when people are talking to me. How you think I learned how to read as much as I hated school? I learned how to read, I learned how to do math, I learned all them things. Graduated from high school with straight D's. Because I wasn't interested. But even when I'm not interested, it's just something that I cannot do if I'm in a place where you at and you talking, I'm listening. And after you finish, I'm still thinking about what you said. Even if it was against me. Because it might have been true, even if I didn't like it. But I ain't gonna know whether it was true or not if I don't think about it. This is what the book says. In the 17th verse of the 9th chapter of Isaiah. Therefore the Lord shall have no joy in their young men, neither shall he have mercy on their fatherless and widows. For every one of them is a hypocrite and an evildoer, and every mouth speaks foolishness, folly. And for all this, his anger is not turned away. But there's a but there. But he still ain't gave up on them. Some of y'all, you disrespect me, you say all kind of hateful things, and if I had did that to you, you wouldn't even speak to me no more. But when you come back to try to speak to me again, I'll let you speak to me. Over and over again. Have you listened to some of this rap that these people look like me? All kind of garbage coming out of their mouth. And getting paid, and people enjoying listening to it. vomiting. And they're like dogs licking up somebody's vomit. It ain't the flesh. See, I know that. It's the mind that's in the flesh that's the swine. That's the filthy one. I'm dealing with an unwashed generation of people. Anyway, but that's okay. For I already was told. The messenger said that Allah told him, he said, brother, and he said it, but he was talking to me through the messenger. He said, you have the hardest job of any man that ever lived. If you think teaching people that think they already know something is easy, you go and try to teach somebody something that think they already know it. They'll argue with everything you got to say. At least they think they got an argument. Anyway, so let's get that out the way because I got some things I want you to all hear.
Yes, sir. We have a man under the screen named Abdul, and he says, didn't the Son of Man, he asks question after question here, sir. And he starts out by saying, didn't the Son of Man 3 times confirm that he believed gossip had no truth?
You said gossip had no truth. I didn't agree to that. I said gossip is not truth. Until once you find out it's truth, it's no longer gossip. 2 times 2 is 4. And if people standing around saying that 2 times 2 is 4, you don't say they gossiping. That's not gossip. That's facts. If you walk outside and people say it's daylight out there, and it is, well, that's not gossip. But anyway, what's the next one? Poe thing, he wants to try to justify what he couldn't justify in the class because, you know, this man is so foolish that he forgets that other people are listening. It's just like Donald Trump in court. And he mad at his lawyer because his attorney won't attack witnesses and won't attack people who telling the truth. He's ignoring the fact that there are witnesses in there because he wants to, that a jury is in there, because he wants to go out there knowing he's guilty. He wants to throw a distraction by getting his attorney to get up there and lie for him. And an attorney can get disbarred for coming into the court presenting evidence or something that's into evidence that he knows is false. That's a court of law. And you can't turn a courtroom into a stage show. Only thing will happen if he get a lawyer that come in there and is willing to disrespect the court like that, because all lawyers are officers of the court. Well, likewise, since he couldn't get his lie in here last night, because he, even by his own definition that he went in there and read, it condemned what he was trying to do, and he ignored that, just like he was ignoring me. Just a moment. Gossip. Gossip. Rumor or talk of a personal, sensational, or intimate nature. A person who habitually spreads intimate or private rumors or facts. trivial, chatty talk or writing. Now, there are exceptions to the rule of gossip, which is what you just saw there. It's like when Donald Trump was sitting up there sharing secrets that was what you call classified. He's sitting down there talking about classified information to reporters and his buddies outside of the government. Even that the oligarch that came here and he was sharing, he was gossiping with him about things that he didn't have no business talking about. Do you understand? So I will agree to that as a stipulation, but that is a different use of the word gossip. But when you take the main meaning of gossip, the way that most people use it, is that you are going around spreading things that you don't know whether they are true or not. And that's what we get from the term gossip. But anyway, go to his next one.
Yes, sir. He says, didn't the definition of gossip imply that it may be true or have truth in it? It's just unconfirmed?
No, it can be confirmed facts. But if you ain't got no business talking to certain people about it, you ain't got no business, spreading that because it was classified. Do you understand? But you are taking a word that generally means without factual knowledge. When you just talking, just like what you were saying about somebody died from that, from the that vaccine was killing people. And when I asked you, who do you know of that it killed? And you couldn't give me that. You was gossiping. You was bringing news that you didn't know whether it was true or not. Now, go on.
Yes, sir. Then he says, doesn't that mean he was wrong to say or imply gossip?
No, you said he had some more things. I done dealt with the gossip thing already.
It looks like that's what it's all about, sir.
Well, I'm through with that. Because he's trying to make himself be right in some sense. Well, then in some sense, you are right. But in the sense that we was talking as far as that vaccine go, you wasn't right. You was gossiping. Because you brought me some information that you didn't have any proof of. And even if someone had died from the vaccine, you would have to have what you call a statement from the scientific community that was what they died from. Because in my whole life, I've never actually seen a person get vaccinated and die. And believe me, I done seen a lot of vaccinations. I done been vaccinated quite a few times myself. So, these people who come up with these stories on the internet, you don't know who you listening to. Now, I'm not an internet person. And when I say I'm not an internet person, I don't know actually how the internet works. I know how to use it, but I don't know the inner workings of it. Like some of the brothers here that's reading this to me, him and the technician that's got our broadcast, that's producing our broadcast here. They know what you call AI from real stuff. You know, I mean, I don't. you know, but you know, I can, if I listen to something long enough, I can pretty much tell you if it's real or not. But whenever someone brings news, the thing you need to do, if you don't know whether it's an artificial intelligence or a real person, then it's one way to find out, and that is to call and ask them for an interview or whatnot. And then they can bring their facts that will back up what they said. It's just like me. I don't know how many people online that has any type of meaningful production that don't have a way that you can contact them. So one thing is suspect when you hear something on the internet or see something on the internet, if the person that is sharing that information does not give you a way to contact them so that you can question them or bring them in and talk face to face, you know, on the internet, and have a real person there sharing this knowledge. Just like you noticed the people that I brought, what was her name? Dr. Fuller. She came on, and you saw who she was, and it was a real person. I mean, and I'm gonna tell you something. There's sometimes when you doing things on the internet, in order to make sure, it asks you, are you a real person? And it'll ask you, what do you see on this screen here? And that kind of thing. They check to make sure that they're talking to a real person. Do you understand? And so, and that may be an automated thing, but you still got to make sure that what you being brought is not propaganda. I'm not going to knowingly help poison the minds of the people in the United States. I'm not going to knowingly do that. You're going to have to go some to trick me into saying something that's not true. Because I'm not up here to help poison people's minds. I'm up here to free people from poison, to heal people who have been poisoned. And I tried to heal you, but you was too silly to accept the healing. You ain't yet went back to the person that brought you that news and told them to come in here and share that with me. Go get the person who told you that it was somebody died from the vaccine and bring them in here to have a conversation with me so I can question them. How many people in this audience right now know somebody who died from the vaccine? I know somebody who died that hadn't been vaccinated. And I bet you a lot of y'all do too. But here come Mr. Genius to come in here and tell us that he know people that died from the vaccine. Ain't that something? And then when I asked him, who do he know? He said he don't know nobody. But he willing to run with that. See? And they call that a novel virus. And you know how novels go. They read a long time. I didn't hear you before you get to the end of them. They have hundreds of pages. Is that right? Ain't no short story. This virus, COVID, that COVID-19 virus, they still learning what it can do to people. Not to mention people who getting it once and then getting it again and again. Man, you don't know what you're playing with. It's like a man that's doing drugs. He do it, he shoot up once, then he do it again, then he do it again, and next thing you know, he looked like a piece of wood that fire done caught hold to. I didn't hear you. All right. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
There was one question at the end that was on something.
Okay, what was the last question?
He says, also, assuming a person is ignorant or foolish, shouldn't they ask questions to become wiser and less foolish?
No, they should listen. Whenever you're in the room with someone that's wise and you're ignorant, the only questions that you should have is questions that you learned from what they said that you didn't understand. Of course, now, if you went to school, I shouldn't have had to tell you that. Because I know every time I was in school, the only time I had a question was when the teacher said something that I didn't understand and I needed some clarity on. I didn't bring up, oh, and by the way, when the teacher answered my question, I didn't try to go back and forth with them, call myself trying to argue with them. I accepted their answer. You see, you keep trying to justify your foolishness, and that's why that's how you earn the title of being a fool. Because we was all fools once. We didn't know the value of, no child knows the value, hardly, of paying attention when you giving them something that they need that they don't know they need. So you have to make them pay attention. It's just like my daddy. In order to get my attention, he had an extension cord. And if he's raising his voice, most of the time he could raise his voice or just say something to me, and it didn't have to be just his regular voice. And I listened because I know what was coming if I didn't. And so, my mama, she sometimes had to tell me 2 or 3 times because I'd stand there and act like I didn't hear or whatever, because I knew I could get away with it because I didn't want to do it. But for the most part, I listened. And so when you don't know the very nature of ignorance, if you are trying to remove your ignorance, the very nature of ignorance is to be quiet and listen. Because when you don't know, as the book says, he who does not know, who is ignorant, and knows that he's ignorant, is a child. He humbles himself as a child. Teach him. Teaching doesn't involve a lot of questions. Teaching involves answers before the question comes up. Do you understand? If a person is actually teaching you something, they should be speaking in a language and using a vocabulary that you can understand. And so as they are teaching you, if they really teaching you, you're not going to have no questions hardly. My hand didn't go up every time a teacher said something. But matter of fact, my hand very seldom went up. Because the teacher taught on a level that I could understand. No, you just somebody who trying to pretend to be when you get caught in your foolish act, you say, well, I'm ignorant and I don't know. I'm going to tell you something about an ignorance. Most people, when they've been thinking and being taught and believing a lot of things that's not true, and they've accepted those things, those people have been taught ignorance, and they don't know that they are ignorant. And so they come in, and when someone teaches the truth to them, their ignorance comes out. Their learned ignorance comes out. And then they think that they are arguing when what they are doing is manifesting their ignorance. Do you understand? And that's your problem. But anyway, that's that. So now if you want to learn, you better learn to keep your mouth still and your ears open. You see? But until you do that, it don't make no difference where you go and who's standing up talking to you. You're going to go in there just the same as you did with me, and you're going to leave there just as ignorant as you were when you came in there. Because your fool's pride won't let you admit that you didn't know and you only thought you knew. You see? And that's a fool's pride. You see? So now, let's see here. Let's go to what I saw today that I thought was very, very enlightening. And we got time to hear most of it. So I'm going to let you hear it.
We've got a hugely topical episode today. I have the incredible honor, as always, of being joined by my co-host for our series Class with Jamie Raskin, where the congressman debunks right-wing constitutional fallacies and fever dreams. Today's episode could not come at a more opportune moment as the Supreme Court now considers the question of presidential immunity for Donald Trump. And while there's a lot of spin out there, no one to better counter that disinformation than Jamie Raskin. So I'll hand it over to the congressman who will take on the right-wing fallacy that as commander-in-chief, the president has both the power to do whatever he wants and absolute immunity from any legal consequences for criminal actions.
Brian, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be with everybody. Today we're taking on a fallacy that's so obvious, so glaring, and so striking. But what's interesting is that sometimes it's the most obvious fallacies that are the trickiest ones to debunk and refute. I remember Sherlock Holmes once saying that there's nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact. And that's definitely true in the age of Donald Trump, because this is a case of first impression, like so many of the other issues that are raised by Donald Trump, because no other president has acted in such extreme and explosive and incendiary ways. So it's not like there's a bunch of precedents that map out how to respond to it. And so we have to search through the Constitution to explain why his actions are completely in derogation of the constitutional fabric itself. The case that is being considered by the Supreme Court, Donald Trump's claim that he's absolutely immune, is indeed a case of first impression, just like many of the other fallacies that he has floated during this period. But what we're going to look at is this one. As commander-in-chief of the nation, the president has both the power to do whatever he wants and absolute immunity from any legal consequences for his criminal actions. Now, there are actually multiple fallacies tucked in here. I've snuck in like a law professor on a final exam. The first is, as commander-in-chief of the nation, which the president is not. That is not his title. He's commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy, during times of actual conflict from Article 2 of the Constitution and of the militias when they're called up into actual service. So any president who walks around saying, I'm the commander-in-chief, like he's the dictator of the country, is just absolutely wrong. But the central fallacies here are that the president can do whatever he wants, something that we heard repeatedly from Donald Trump when he was in president. He says, and then there's the Article 2, which allows me to do whatever I want. Of course, the central job of the president under Article 2 is to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. Not that the laws are violated or the laws are departed from, but the laws are faithfully executed. And if the president could do whatever he wants, then why do we have the power to impeach and convict the president for treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors? And then, why do we have the power to prosecute him? Or do we? Because that's what this case is really about, that has gone up to the Supreme Court, United States versus Trump, that was found against the president in district court by Judge Chutkin, against the president by the D.C. Circuit panel, an excellent panel made up of Judges Han, Henderson, and Childs, 2 Democratic nominees to the bench, 1 Republican nominee to the bench, but all unanimously rejecting Trump's claim. What does he say? He says a former president cannot be prosecuted criminally for anything that he did while he was in office, pursuant to his office. And again, no president has ever alleged that before, which is why it's so foreign and so strange to our experience. The judges in the D.C. Circuit do a great job of leading us through this, and I'll kind of follow their lead and embellish a little bit on several different points. But the first point I want to make is generally about the structure of the Constitution. Article 1 puts Congress in the first article for a reason, which is that we overthrew a king, we wanted to get away from monarchical government, and we wanted to vest power not in a monarch, lord, in a czar or an emperor, but in we the people. And the House of Representatives and the senators in the Senate are the representatives of the people. And we are the lawmaking branch. And if you look at the Constitution, as I hope you will see that Article 1 goes on for a long time, setting forth all of the powers that Congress has to regulate commerce among the states, to regulate commerce between America and other nations, to coin money, to govern naturalization, to govern the district that's to become the seat of government, and on and on. And then in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, and all other powers that are necessary and proper to the execution of the foregoing power. So it's very expansive. Then you get to Article 2, Section 3, and look at that last phrase there. This is really the core of it. You know, it's about naming ambassadors and so on, giving a State of the Union address. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed, and shall commission all the officers of the United States. That's it. And then you get right into Section 4, after stating that the president shall faithfully execute the laws, setting forth how the president can be impeached. The president, VP, and all civil officers shall be removed from office on impeachment for the conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. But I just want you to keep that design structurally, generally in mind as we get into this issue, because Congress is put first, and the president's job under Section 2 is to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, to implement the laws of the Congress. All right. Now, Trump attempted to bypass and overthrow the Constitution of the United States when he tried to stay in office in the weeks leading up to January 6th, and then on January 6th itself. That's what this case is about. This case comes from the criminal trial of Donald Trump on 4 charges that have been brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith. The first is a conspiracy to defraud the United States of America by collecting all of these fraudulent electoral college slates from different states and then asserting that these are the bona fide, honest electors determined by the states in their presidential election, which they most assuredly were not. The second is the conspiracy to obstruct a federal proceeding. Here, the joint session of Congress called under the 12th Amendment to receive the Electoral College votes sent in by the governors through their certificates of ascertainment sent to the House and the Senate and to the Archivist of the United States. Third is actual interference with the federal proceeding. And then the fourth is violation of the voting rights of the people, a conspiracy to deprive persons of the United States of their right to vote. Okay, so those are the four criminal charges. Donald Trump asserts against all of them that he's absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for official acts he undertook as president. Now, one of the amusing things about that is asserting that the attempt to overthrow the presidential election was an official act. Of course, his official responsibility there was to leave office after 4 years and to take care that the laws were faithfully executed, including all of the laws passed under the Electoral College provisions in the Constitution. That's what he was supposed to do. But he's saying, no, he undertook these official acts to try to get the state legislatures to set aside the Electoral College votes by trying to get state election officials like Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in Georgia just to find him 11,780 votes, and then by trying to get the Department of Justice to falsely declare it a corrupt and fraudulent election, and then finally by trying to get Vice President Pence to step outside of his official constitutional role, administering the counting of the Electoral College votes. The idea was to try to get Pence to force it into a contingent election, or just to go ahead and announce that Trump was president, and then Trump was prepared to ride over on the shoulders of the mob, like Mussolini, and come in and simply declare himself president again, and then invoke the Insurrection Act and call in the National Guard to come and put down the insurrectionary chaos that he had unleashed against us. Sorry, that was basically the plan. Well, he says, you can't charge me for any of these things. I'm absolutely immune from criminal prosecution as a former president. Now, on behalf of Trump's argument, let's say, let's stipulate this. There are some constitutions in other countries which make former presidents immune from criminal prosecution for things like coups and insurrections. One of them, for a while anyway, was Chile, which said that Pinochet could not be prosecuted, and this was part of an arrangement they made with the new constitution. He would have immunity from criminal prosecution, very explicitly set forth in that constitution. There's a couple other examples. There's nothing like that in the U.S. Constitution, and of course, as we'll come to see, it cuts against everything we believe about our Constitution and its entire constitutional design. So, and in fact, that common sense intuition was articulated by the Republican judge in the D.C. Circuit, Judge Henderson, who said that it would be a striking paradox if the one person in the country charged with taking care that the laws be faithfully executed could defy and violate the laws and then be exempt for his violation of federal criminal laws in the process. All right, so how do we go about looking at this claim? Well, Trump says, first of all, he's so immune from prosecution, it's not even up to the courts to determine whether he's immune from prosecution or not. That, of course, is ridiculous under Marbury versus Madison, the famous Supreme Court decision rendered by Chief Justice John Marshall, proclaiming the doctrine of judicial review, that the Supreme Court has the right, the power, and the duty to declare what the law is. It's emphatically the province and duty of the court to say what the law is and to sort out, precisely these kinds of conflicts. We've got Supreme Court decisions that stand for the proposition, in fact, that the Supreme Court can review presidential actions for their constitutionality. And here's a great one everybody can remember. It's called the steel seizure case. In this case, President Truman faced a series of strikes around the country and was nervous, along with Congress, that the shutdown of the steel industry would interfere with necessary production of weaponry during the Korean War. And Congress attempted to give President Truman the power to intervene to reopen the steel plants by seizing the steel plants, taking government possession of them, and then commanding production of steel. That failed in Congress. Congress rejected that effort. But then the president, Truman, just went ahead and did that anyway. And he said, we're going to take possession of the steel plants in order to keep the war effort going, and I'm going to invoke my war powers, my powers as commander-in-chief during a time of actual conflict in order to do this. And the Supreme Court said, well, wait a second here. The President of the United States has the job of enforcing the laws. And Justice Jackson said it out nicely in his concurring opinion, where he said, think of it kind of like a stoplight. Either you've got a green light where the Constitution specifically gives the president the power to do something, like to appoint the officers in the cabinet subject to the advice and consent of the Senate, or to name ambassadors subject to advice and consent. Those are clear delegations to the president to be able to do something. There you got a green light, and nobody can say, oh, I know the president, you nominated the wrong person, that's not the best qualified person. That is totally within presidential power to decide that, okay? A red light would be something where a power is vested by the Constitution in another branch of the government. Take, for example, the power to declare war. That power is given to Congress. But let's say the president says, this is such an important matter, such an important foreign policy conflict, I'm going to take away from Congress the power to declare war, and I am going to declare a war right now for the country. That's a red light. That would clearly be unconstitutional, and under Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court would have the power to revoke that. But then there's the yellow light situation, and this is where a particular power is not specifically enumerated either under Article 2 for the executive branch or under Article 1 for the legislative branch, and Congress has not said anything about it. It's neither delegated that power explicitly to the president, nor has it attempted to delegate that power to the president, but been thwarted in the effort to do so. And there's a yellow light situation, and that's where the court says it's very fact-based, intensive analysis. But the court said in the steel seizure case, this is an easy one, because there's nothing in the power of commander-in-chief that explicitly sets forth the power to seize steel mills or seize any instrument of the economy or commerce to keep things going. And Congress might have been able to delegate this to the president, to give him this power, but it did not do so. There was a bill put in to try to say the president has the power over steel mills and can open them up, but it chose not to do that. That becomes a red light. At that point, he essentially has been specifically foreclosed to undertake that action. All right, all of which is to say, the D.C. Circuit Court was very clear that this matter is indeed going to be up to the judiciary to decide. And in the course of finding that, the court cited this significant passage that has been absorbed into the bloodstream of America over the decades. It comes from a Supreme Court decision called U.S. versus Lee, in which the court wrote, "No man in this country is so high that he is above the law. No officer of the law may set that law at defiance with impunity. All the officers of the government, from the highest to the lowest, are creatures of the law and are bound to obey it. It is the only supreme power in our system of government, And every man who by accepting office participates in its functions is only the more strongly bound to submit to that supremacy and to observe the limitations which it imposes upon the exercise of the authority which it gives. In other words, in this passage, which has been recycled over the centuries, the Supreme Court is saying not only is it wrong that you as president somehow are not bound by the law, if anything, you are more bound by the law than everybody else. So I like to say that those of us who aspire and attain to public office are nothing but the servants of the people, and the moment that we think we're somehow above the people and acting as kings and queens and lords and czars and emperors, that is the moment certainly to evict and eject and reject and impeach and convict and get rid of that person, and the Constitution gives us a lot of mechanisms to do so. All right, so now we're looking at the question. We know that the court is in the right place to be checking this out. Now we get into the heart of Donald Trump's claim, where he says, all right, you can hear my case, you're going to look at it, but I am categorically immune from any criminal prosecution. Why? And here's the argument. If you go to Article 1, Section 3, Clause 7, okay? And bear with me because it is an extremely tortured, pinched, and really comical reading of this judgment of impeachment clause. But what it says is this: judgment in cases of impeachment shall not extend further than to removal from office and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. But the party convicted shall nevertheless, key word here, shall nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment according to law. Now, if you read that whole thing in context and give it a common sense read, it is certain to lead you to the conclusion that any president or former president can be subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment. Now, if the president is also impeached first and removed from office by the Senate, and if the Senate decides to disqualify that person from holding an office again, still that convicted president can nevertheless be liable and subject to indictment and trial and judgment and punishment. And you could add in parentheses, because this is what the Constitution is really saying, just like all the other presidents, even though they haven't been impeached or convicted, but if they committed a crime, they can. But now, Trump's lawyers, somewhat cleverly, I must concede, flipped the entire thing upside down. And what they read it to mean is that only presidents who have been impeached and convicted can be subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment. Now look at that for a second. They read it to say that basically, the only thing that can happen to you if you're impeached and convicted is removal from office and disqualification. But you also could be subject to indictment, trial, judgment, and punishment, but no other president could. Well, that's of course not what it says. It violates any common sense grammatical construction of the terms of it, and it is completely at odds with all other kinds of text within the Constitution, the structure of the Constitution, and the history of it. So let's start with this. It has always been assumed in our history that a former president could be criminally prosecuted for offenses undertaken in office that come to light later. Take the case of Richard Nixon, who we'll never know because he was pardoned, but who at least allegedly ordered a number of criminal acts, including the break-in at the Watergate, other kinds of criminal espionage, the taking of bribes, hush money, all kinds of stuff. And when he resigned from office, rather than face what would have been an almost certain impeachment and conviction, when he resigned, his vice president, Gerald Ford, became president, and the new President Ford pardoned him, gave him a pardon, because he did not want to see Richard Nixon being criminally prosecuted and having the country dragged through that. He said, but everybody assumed, from Gerald Ford to Richard Nixon to Congress to the country, that he could be prosecuted. The same thing happened with Bill Clinton, who actually entered into a plea bargain with the independent counsel in his case. Robert Ray was his name, who agreed not to bring charges against Clinton if Clinton would voluntarily resign from the bar for a 5-year period. And in order to avoid criminal prosecution, Bill Clinton entered into that agreement. Okay, so it's always been assumed that a former president could be criminally prosecuted. The D.C. Circuit says that it would create an extremely dangerous precedent to say that a former president cannot be prosecuted for crimes undertaken while in office, because that would be an invitation to do things like this. And this was asked aggressively of Trump's lawyers in the oral argument in D.C. Circuit. Could the president order assassination of his political rivals and opponents, pursuant to his power as commander-in-chief or some other power that he invokes? And the answer was yes, that the president could order a political assassination, but there was this check: he could be impeached and convicted. But if he were not impeached and convicted, Trump's lawyer said, then he could not be prosecuted.
Before I let him finish, you see, as I was telling you, Donald Trump is a would-be mob boss masquerading as a president. Do you understand? Okay.
About the implications of that for a second. It means the president could order his political party rival assassinated, and the vice president for the rival party assassinated, and their friends. And then if he's about to face impeachment, he could just go ahead and order the assassination of enough members of the opposite party, for example, to prevent him from being impeached or to prevent him from being convicted in the Senate. So as long as he can defeat impeachment and trial, then he can get away with assassination. I mean, come on. I mean, we are in la-la land at this point. And I think that's when Trump's lawyers lost even the Republican judge on the D.C. Circuit and really lost the interest of the country in this argument. So everybody can see what a dangerous proposition this is. It's especially dangerous in a case exactly like this.
You remember Donald Trump said that the American justice system, he said, what we have is a joke. Remember that? Now he's got a lawyer up in front of the Supreme Court making the American system sound like a joke. You understand? That lawyer is saying what Donald Trump told him to say. The Supreme Court should have been to kick that back. Shouldn't have even heard it. But, you know, I mean, it's you're at the end of the world.
Because Donald Trump's crimes were all directed at destroying the constitutional provisions governing succession in office. Look at the 20th Amendment. The Constitution is very clear about this. Your term of office as president and vice president ends at noon on the 20th day of January. It's over at that point. And the procedures for election of the president are set forth in the 12th Amendment, which the president has a constitutional obligation to execute and to defend and not to overthrow. And so everything Donald Trump did was a recipe for insurrection and rebellion. And I think as we looked at in our last class about the Second Amendment and insurrectionism, we have an anti-insurrection Constitution. There are half dozen provisions that are set up in the Constitution to block insurrection and political coups, and precisely the kind of thing that Donald Trump attempted to do on January 6, 2021. The D.C. Circuit called Donald Trump's efforts in those days an unprecedented assault on the structure of our government, and indeed it was. And if you think about it, rather than being protected by the separation of powers, which is what Donald Trump claims, his argument is a direct affront to the separation of powers. It would collapse the separation of powers. Why? Well, Congress sets forth in federal law what you can't do. For example, you cannot violate the voting rights of the people. You cannot interfere with a federal proceeding, although now that statute has been challenged in court in the Fisher case, and I hope we'll get a chance to talk about that at another point. But you, as president, cannot attempt to defraud the government of the United States as he did. Okay, so if the president is exempt from prosecution for violating clear federal laws, that denies Congress the ability to legislate. It also denies the executive branch itself the ability to prosecute, which is an executive branch function. And the president should be taking care that the laws are faithfully executed and presiding over the prosecution of violations of law, not thwarting them, especially when it relates to him. As Madison put it, nobody can be a judge in his own case. That's a cardinal principle of Anglo-American law. And similarly with the courts, if the president's absolutely immune from criminal prosecution for acts undertaken in office, well, then the courts are not able to take up an actual case or controversy and adjudicate the merits of them to determine whether or not a law has actually been violated. So, the D.C. Circuit, I think, did a beautiful job of walking through the different parts of Trump's argument, which is kind of catch-can and all over the place, but exploits the fact that we don't have cases directly on point because, again, no president in our history has committed so many crimes in office and then gone on to claim absolute immunity from being prosecuted for them. And
that's because no society in the history of the United States was ever dumb enough to put a man like that in office in the first place. He couldn't even stood on the stage with presidents of the past. Do you understand?
All of it comes back to the idea that we have a constitution that's put in place in order to hold people who have state power accountable to the rest of us. I mean, that's really what the rule of law is all about. People without power, people without wealth, have always been subject to the law. But what's different about the Constitution for a democratic society is the Constitution binds even people who have a lot of wealth and power. And that's really what the rule of law is all about. So, we reject the fallacy that the commander-in-chief of the nation, who is not that, but that the president of the United States can do whatever he wants. We know that's not true. The job is to be bound by the law, to take care of the laws are faithfully executed, not to trample the laws and violate them. And if the president does violate the laws, is subject not only to the impeachment clauses of the Constitution, but also to the criminal law and the civil law, including criminal prosecution for everything that he or she did when in office.
All right, so that was excellent.
Now, I need to ask you, is there anyone who heard that found any fallacy in it or falsity in it that you would like to address? You know, the one thing that I'm
You know, if you heard something or saw something that I didn't, the only way I'm going to be corrected is that you're going to have to show it to me. What did Congressman Raskin say that was inaccurate? How many of you all think that Donald Trump should not be held accountable for January 6th and other things that happened that he was a part of? What's your take on that? Do you think he should not be held accountable? And if you do think that, why not? What was the billionaire's name that they jailed down there in Florida and then murdered him? I mean, and said he Mr. Epstein. They show you billionaires can go to jail. You really believe he he killed himself down there? Is that what you believe? I guess you believe that Sandra Bland killed herself in that jail cell, huh? So, is that the kind of country you want? A country that if you disagree with people that have power, they murder you? If they're afraid that you may, if you saw the Goodfellas, no, not Goodfellas, Casino. Did any of y'all see Casino? Well, at one point, all of the old dons, they called a meeting, and they decided that it was time to whack everybody that had anything on them. They couldn't, the people in their circle that they saw getting arrested and that kind of thing, they said, well, you know, we can't take no chances. Whack him. And they start doing what they call tying up loose ends. A lot of people don't understand Satan. That's because you didn't pay attention in the book of Job. Satan was going all over the world and just to and fro and up and down. And when it came to Job, the Lord asked him, have you considered Job over there? And Satan said, well, in so many words, you told me don't mess with Job. You told me don't mess with yours, with Job there. See, this is what people don't understand. The devil ain't got no authority over people that ain't his and that ain't following him. He get himself in a world of trouble coming in messing with me. Do you understand? Allah ain't gonna let him kill me. And I remember one put his hands on me and was in there washing his hands with cold water. You know, just for touching me. They had no business bothering me. There ain't no laws against righteousness. So you may go down that path you wish you hadn't. So anyway, I want to show you something else before I didn't Mr. Raskin speak well? And he stayed on point. This is something else here I want you to see. Just a moment. If I can. Just a moment. You see how modest he is? If that had been Trump standing there, he'd let them keep on and keep on and keep on and keep on, until they quit on their own. Then he'd say, "Do you love me?" That's the kind of person he was. He always want people looking up to him while he don't deserve to be looked up to. Joe Biden's just a down-to-earth, decent man. And anybody that don't, even Lindsey Graham said it, if you don't like Joe Biden, there's something wrong with you. Huh? Lindsey said that. You don't remember that? Just a moment. I'm not like these other people. They say things, and then when you ask them for where you get that from, or whatever, then they say nothing. Let's see here.
The bottom line is, if you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. And you need to do some self-evaluation. Because what's not to like? Here's what I can tell you. That life can change just like that. Don't take it for granted. Don't take relationships for granted. I called him after Bo died. And he basically said, well, Bo was my soul. All for a long time. He came to my ceremony and said some of the most incredibly heartfelt things that anybody could ever say to me. And he's the nicest person I think I've ever met in politics.
Is that right?
He is as good a man as God ever created. And we don't agree on much. But I think he's been dealt a really gut blow. I think he focuses on what he's got to do, not what he lost. His heart's been ripped out, but he's going to make sure that the other members of his family is well taken care of. And he started talking about his grandkids. More worried about them than anything. We just talked about the future.
Yeah.
He started talking about the future of his family.
trades. God love you all. I really mean it. And Sean, thank you for your friendship, your partnership, and it's been an incredible honor. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, an incredible honor to be endorsed by the building trades. I mean it. You're the best. Not a joke. It's not a joke. You're the best in the world. That's not a joke. You're the best in the world. You know, you had my back in 2020, and because of you, I'm standing here as President of the United States of America. Because of you. And that's a fact. Because of you, in 2024, we're going to make Donald Trump a loser again. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm so damn proud to be with you. I really mean it. I'm proud to be with you. All my relatives, my grandpapa and everybody else up in they're all gone now, but in Scranton, I had an uncle who used to say, Joey, you're belt buckle to shoe sole union. Well, let me tell you something. I'm proud to be the most pro-union president in American history. It's because of you. You're proof of what I've always known, not a joke. I've always known that Wall Street didn't build America. The middle class built America, and unions built the middle class. That's a fact. That's a fact.
You just remember this. That wasn't no lie. If it had not been for unions, your wages would probably never went up. It's when the workers all over the United States start forming unions where they could leverage, and say to the owners of the companies that they work for, look, man, we making you rich, and we can't even afford to buy the products that we producing for you. That's just not right. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn. That's in the Bible. Why would you starve and keep the man who put you in a mansion? Why would you keep him in poverty? You know that don't make no sense. Huh? All right. So, as he said, the unions built this country was built by workers. And unions built the middle class. Because if it wasn't for the unions, your wages would have been stagnant. And the conditions in the workplace would have been horrendous. Because waiting on somebody who had a chance and saw your condition and was satisfied that your condition was bad, but well, what can you do? They can muddle through it. When you dealing with somebody who don't care about your condition, they only care about how much money they can make off of you, then unions was the only solution to that. Do you understand? So.
Up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware. I was up in Scranton last week. It's great to have the mayor of Scranton, by the way, Paige Cognetti. Where are you, Paige? She's here today. I don't know, it's a big crowd out there, but you'll see her, you'll know her. Look, in Scranton, I learned a basic value set that all of you learned as well, no matter where you're from. I learned that money doesn't determine your worth. I learned that all anyone wants is just a fair shot of making it. Don't block the road for me. Give me an even shot. My dad, I swear to God, used to have an expression. He'd come home after he closed. He'd come home for dinner and then go back and close the shop. My dad would say, Joey, a job, and I mean this sincerely, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's
about being able to look your child in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. That's what we're all about. Dignity of all workers, the dignity of workers.
People hear that, and you hear him say it over and over. And it's true every time he says it. It's even backed up in the Word of God. It don't say a man is known by how much money he got. It says a man is known by his works. A good man, his good works follow him everywhere he goes. His honesty, his good works tells you what kind of man he is. Do you understand? That's all we have to show for our time on this planet. Not so much as what we did for ourselves, or what did we do that affected others in a positive way. In a good way.
They weren't in business. They weren't executives. They weren't something special. But they are special. You know, but people like Donald Trump learned a different lesson. He learned the best way to get rich is inherited. He learned that paying taxes was something working people did, not him. He learned that telling people you're fired was something to laugh about. Not in my household, not in my neighborhood. I mean it, sincerely. No joke. Especially being fired because you had no protection. Folks, I guess that's how you look at the world from Mar-a-Lago, where Trump and his rich friends embrace the same failed trickle-down policies that have failed working-class families and union families for over 40 years. But if you grew up where we grew up, nobody handed you anything. Being told you were fired wasn't entertainment. It was devastating. It was a nightmare. And folks, we all know people like Trump look down on us. Don't we? We all know somebody we grew up with like that. Well, folks, where I come from, it matters. When I look at the economy, I don't see it through the eyes of Mar-a-Lago. I see it through the eyes of Scranton, working people like all of you and my family. You know, we know the best way to grow an economy is from the bottom up and the middle out, not the top down. My dad used to say, not a whole hell of a lot trickle down on his kitchen table in that top down policy. When we do that, when we work from the bottom up and the middle out, poor have a ladder up, and the middle class does well. And by the way, the wealthy still do very well if they just start paying the damn taxes. So it's either Scranton values or Mar-a-Lago values. These are competing visions of the economy at the heart of this election. Competing visions of what we look at and see as America. Folks, one of the reasons I ran for president was to rebuild the backbone of the middle class. And we have. We're following my blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America, and guess what? It's working. You're building that America. You're in this room, we're building that America. For example, thanks to my bipartisan infrastructure law, more than 51,000 new manufacturing projects have been announced so far, and we're just beginning. It's just beginning. It's just starting. Bridges, ports, airports, clean water systems, available high-speed internet all across America, and built by the building trades. Remember when President Trump promised this? I gotta be careful. He promised this infrastructure week. Well, I tell you what, it took 4 years. He never built a damn thing. Nothing. I'm serious. Are you surprised? I'm sure I'm making sure the projects like project labor agreements so highly skilled workers have a voice in the job. But even before Trump was president, Trump preferred non-union workers in his real estate projects. And I don't get into the stories, but anyway. Even in that, he didn't keep his word. He just asked contractors, vendors, and small businesses. And if you read the press, if any of it's true, he never paid them, a whole hell of a lot of them. The guy has never worked a day in working man's boots. By the way, he gave me a pair of boots as a gift, by the way. I know how to put them on. I still sometimes cut the yard. They don't, the Secret Service doesn't let me do it anymore. Folks, I'm making Davis-Bacon requirements stronger to guarantee prevailing wage. By the way, we're making it stronger. That loan will increase wages for more than 1 million construction workers. Trump's MAGA allies are trying to take it away now, but it's not going to happen on my watch. Since the 1930s, the law has said when the federal government spends taxpayers' dollars on a project, it can only buy American products to do it and use American workers to get it done. That's Buy America. Donald Trump failed to uphold that, but not anymore. My administration uses American products and American workers. That's why it's going. I mean it. Because, folks, it's not a joke. It's not a campaign line. The God truth is you're the best workers in the world. That's a fact. You're the best workers in the world. When I went out to South Korea to get them to start to build back those computer chips here in America, I said, why are you willing? And they decided to do it, investing billions of dollars. I said, why are you doing it? He said, two things. You have the best workers in the world, and you have the safest place in the world to do it. Well, folks, when I think climate, I think jobs. I think union jobs, good-paying jobs that don't require a college degree. You've attracted nearly $700 billion in private sector investment, in advanced manufacturing, in semiconductors, clean energy, and so much more here in America, creating tens of thousands of good-paying jobs, building trade jobs. In fact, construction of new factories has more than doubled in our administration. Meanwhile, Donald Trump still thinks windmills cause cancer. That's what he said. And by the way, remember what he was trying to do with COVID? He said, just inject a little bleach in your veins. He missed it. All went to his hair. I shouldn't have said that. Probably shouldn't have said that. You guys are a bad influence on me. Trump and his MAGA allies want to repeal the most significant investments in climate ever. The work that you risk your life doing lots of it. You know, and he wants to risk all those jobs. Are you surprised? I'm not. A lot of you don't know that if you want to be a pipe fitter, a lot of people don't know. If you want to be a pipe fitter, electrician, or any other trades here, it takes 4 or 5 years of hard work as an apprentice. Most people think you walk up, and you guys should talk more about this. They think you walk up and you say, I want to be an electrician, you get a license. It's 4 or 5 years. It's like going back to college. It's going like getting a college degree. And that's the reason you're the best is because you're the best trained in the world. You get it, I get it. But Donald Trump has no clue. He undermined union apprenticeships by lowering standards and lowering pay. I ended his anti-work policies and saved the building trades apprenticeships program because they're the gold standard of the world. They are. They actually are.
What he meant by that is unless you can show me something that is contrary, The Industrial Revolution started in the United States. So, unless you can show me another country that advanced as fast as this country did. This country is just new. It's 250 years. Other nations was far ahead of this one. How did the U.S. become the leader? Industrial Revolution. Huh? And who was behind that? Almighty God Allah, that's who. Gave them a government that the world had never seen a government like this before. Never. France admired it so much, he gave them a statue and called it the Statue of Freedom, the Statue of Liberty. Huh? And put an inscription over there, and I lift give me your tired, you poet, and your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. One of the first things on the Constitution is the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, to print the truth about leadership, about government. Man, you can't just look at this country and on no one page or one part of its history and say it ain't worth nothing. If you're gonna make a judgment, if you're gonna put yourself in the seat of the judge, you got to study the whole thing, and then come up with this. If you knock this one down, get rid of this one, what do you have to replace it with other than things that already proved to be insufficient? This one even gave you a way that if it's something about it you don't like, you can make laws that will change it for the better. Because it's not a dictator. The last word of what goes on is determined by the people's votes. And that's why George Washington warned you about institutions for the dispensing of knowledge. The more enlightened your society is, the safer it is from people like Donald Trump, from media like Fox News and Newsmax and all of these people who give you half-truths and lies. You saw what happened when I just asked the man a question last night when he brought in here talking about the vaccine was killing people. I said, who you know of that died by it? Nobody. Where's your proof? But you want to come in here and slip that in here to my little class here, my audience. No, you ain't.
Earlier this week, I teamed up together to recruit young people into the building trades. It's my American Climate Corps. Will now pave a pathway to your apprenticeship program because it matters. It matters. Through my American Rescue Plan, there's not a single Republican voted for it, my dad. I also enacted the Butch-Lewis Act, the most pro-labor law in 50 years. Because of you. Because of you. That one act has already protected hard-earned pensions of over 1 million workers and retirees in county. We made that happen while Trump promised it. He never even lifted a finger to try to get it. Are you surprised? No! Hell no, I'm not either. Trump put union busters on the National Labor Relations Board throughout his administration. I've appointed people in my administration who actually care about American workers, like former the building trades leader Marty Walsh, who was a great labor secretary. By the way, if you're ever in a foxhole, I tell you, you want Marty Walsh with you, man. Oh, you think I'm kidding? He's the real deal. You know, I've walked proudly in union picket lines, while at the same time Trump bashed unions from non-union shops.
Now you remember this, if you don't remember nothing else. If you get in the habit of electing presidents that only care about their party and that only care about those who voted for them, you soon not going to have a country. Because that is the direct antithesis of what brought this nation into existence. The last words in the Declaration of Independence, I will quote them to you. It says, I'm going to read the last paragraph. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And from all of the colonies, they all signed off on it. Their representatives did. They signed a united declaration, knowing that when people are united to bring you down, you had better unite to defend yourself. As of now, you got the best government known of the people of earth. And if you don't think that's worth preserving, well, burn it down if you want. Like I said, I can help all of you into perfection. As the scripture says, let us go on to perfection. But I'm the only one who can help you. You suit yourself. I'm the one that's rightly guided. That's why no matter what I say and whoever I say it about, they ain't got no defense against and don't need no more defense after me. If I speak up for you, can't nobody speak against you. And if I speak against you, it's an effort in futility for somebody to try to speak for you. Now, who else do you know that can make that proclamation?
Surprise! Look, I want to sign the PRO Act into law. Trump said he'd veto it. Trump said he'd veto it. Beyond that, he supports a national right-to-work law, for God's sake. Now, think about it. What is the single biggest killer could happen? A national right-to-work law. Look, he might as well say he doesn't support any unions. Are we going to let that happen, Val? We're not. No. Let me ask you, does anyone here think the tax system is fair? Raise your hand. Well, Trump is proud of his $2 trillion tax cut in his administration that overwhelmingly benefits the very...
You notice they call that law to get rid of unions the National Right to Work law. But what it really is the national right to take away your rights at work. Huh? Unions is what give you rights. When people employ you and work you, and then when there's something going on that is detrimental to you, whether it's in your paycheck or whether it's in the conditions at that job that is hazardous to your health, you can't do nothing about it without a union. They'll fire you. I remember this old brother, one of the old brothers I used to work with, and he, his name was Frazier, and him and Mr. Young, both of them, they was from the old school, and they used to school me, and this was before I heard anything about Islam, but they said, "Look here, Marvin. The white man said, kill me a mule and I'll buy me another. And kill me a nigger and I'll hire me another." And that is what was thought of us. Do you understand? And unions, the poor white man, in some circles, somebody like Joe Biden would have been considered poor white trash. Do you understand? He didn't put it in them words, but what you think he meant when they said people with lots of money look down on people that worked? Huh? Wanting to reestablish, you know what unions would establish? It would reestablish the caste system. Huh? If you're born poor, you're going to stay that way. Because they're going to watch your wages, and as if they work you, they'll pay you enough to buy your bread, to buy your food, little clothes, and pay your rent. But when that's done, you won't have nothing left, so you'll have to go back to work next week. Do you understand? It's called slavery without people knowing that it's slavery. And no way out. Unions made a way, not only a way out of poverty, but a way up, until you could, with ingenuity, you could join like checkers. That's why, you know, one of the lessons in the game called checkers is that you start off equal. But if you make it to the last row on the other man's side, then you become a king. Do you understand? They call it king's row. King me. That's what they crown me. That's what they say. Well, so in this society, of this system of checks and balances, people can make it to king's row. Do you understand? If they have ingenuity and willing to work hard. Do you understand? And don't get taken off the board in the ghetto, in the poverty-stricken community. If you can maneuver yourself wisely through that and keep your integrity, then you can make it out of that caste up. Do you understand? So, anyway.
Biggest corporations while exploding the federal debt. Trump added more to the national debt than any president in a single term in all of American history to the national debt. I cut the national debt so far. And still got all the other they did. By doing simple things like, remember those 40 Fortune 500 companies, those Fortune 500 companies, 40 of them, I think it was 50, who didn't pay a single penny in taxes, made $40 billion. Guess what? I did a terrible thing. I made them pay 15%. And we cut the deficit by $70 billion. Look, now Trump is saying if he gets elected, he wants to give another. By the way, that tax cut is expired.
And you know the sad part? It's like Warren Buffett told President Obama, former President Obama. He told him, by all means, tax us. Those who, this country, who got rich in business in this country, why wouldn't you want to give something in the way of taxes back to the government that made you rich? Now you talk about the epitome of ingratitude. Yeah, okay.
Now let me tell you something. It's going to take expired and dead forever if I'm elected. But anyway, he wants to give another massive tax cut for the wealthy. And he also says he wants to cut your Medicare and Social Security, and you're going to let him that happen? No, hey, by the way, these guys mean this stuff. They mean it. And the Republican caucus went ahead and said they want to do that too. Look, folks, I remember there used to be two parties, real parties. But this ain't your father's Republican Party. This is a different breed of cat. Look, I got a better idea. I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare by making the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. No billionaire.
And that's not an empty promise either. All you got to do is give him a House of Representatives and a Senate that's democratic, and he can do everything that he said for you, for this country, even for those who didn't vote for him. And that's the way it used to work. He's not the president of the red states or the blue states. He's the president of the United States. And he didn't forget that.
Look, guys. No billionaire, there's 1,000 of them in America, 1,000 billionaires. No billionaire should pay less in taxes than a teacher, a nurse, a construction worker, a police officer. Guess what? You know what their average tax rate for a billionaire in America is? 8.3%. That's what they pay. I'm serious. I'm serious. Look, if we just charge them 24%, no tax, which isn't the highest tax rate, would generate $500 billion over the next 10 years. Allow us to significantly cut the deficit, allow us to move all, have daycare, allow us to do so many things to make a country stronger. I want to point out one thing. It's a little off point, but I want you to remember it. I asked the Treasury Department, because I was getting all this compliment and from some criticism about being so pro-union. I said, what happens to wages generally when unions have to get paid a decent salary? Everybody's salaries goes up. Everybody. You grow the economy. You grow the economy. You grow the economy. Look, the bottom line is we're doing what's always worked best in this country. Investing in all America and all Americans. Our plan is working. So far, we've created over 15 million new jobs, including 848,000 construction jobs, for a record 8.2 million across the construction industry. Folks, and by the way, did you know there are only 2 presidents in American history who left office with fewer American jobs than they entered it? Herbert Hoover, and yes, Donald Herbert Hoover Trump. Only 2. Look, folks, we're moving again. We're moving again as a country. We're beginning to gain momentum. We have the best economy, well, we got a lot more to do. But we're moving again because of you guys and women. I mean, I'm not being solicitous. That's why we're moving. We're building again. And we're just getting started. Let me close with this. As I travel the country, I see the amazing things you do, and I mean it, all over the country, in red states and blue states. And this past June, I was in Philadelphia, Sean's hometown, and I married a Philly girl. You don't screw around with Philly people. If I didn't root for every Philly team out there, I'd be sleeping alone. You all think I'm kidding. Look, remember when that tanker truck crashed and closed the key stretch of I-95 in Philly? It was expected, like in the last administration, it would take months and months for anything to happen. Well, 150,000 vehicles traveled that overpass every single day. What'd we do? We contacted all of you. We organized. You organized. We rebuilt that. You rebuilt that in less than 2 weeks, record time. How? Because you're the building trades, laborers, operating engineers, cement finishers, plumbers, pipe fitters, steel workers, so many union workers. You showed up. You showed up around the clock. And you got it done. By the way, that's America. By the way, unions are more popular today than they've ever been in a long, long time. Not because of Joe Biden supporting you, because of you. You always step up. You step into the breach. You get things done. That's the union movement. That's what it's about. In Baltimore, we're moving heaven and earth, or as my dad from Baltimore would say, Balmer. We're moving heaven and earth to rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge after its tragic collapse. And we're doing with you, with union labor and American steel. American steel. That's America. That's the union movement. Look, folks. You're doing. You ought to see. I mean, I've been to the site. It's incredible. I've been over that bridge a lot. I commuted every day for 36 years as a U.S. Senator when my wife and daughter were killed. And I used to commute back and forth to be with my boys. And I'm over that area in Baltimore Harbor. It's incredible what you're doing. And folks, the choice is clear. Donald Trump's vision of America is one of revenge and retribution. A defeated former president who sees the world from Mar-a-Lago and bows down to billionaires, who looks down on American union workers. It's not just he's not supporting, he looks down on us. No, I'm not joking. Think about it. Think about the guys you grew up with you'd like to get into the corner and just give them a straight lift. I'm not suggesting we hit the president. We all know those guys growing up. We all know guys like that growing up. My vision of America is one of hope and opportunity. The view from Scranton, working class Americans like you. Here's the future I see, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I've never been more optimistic about America's chances. Not because I'm president, because of the state of the moment. The world needs us. Look what I just signed. We just signed the bill to give support to Ukraine. We rebuilt NATO. We increased it. Like it or not, we're the leading country in the world. The rest of the world looks to us. I see in America where we defend democracy, not diminish it. I see in America where we protect freedoms, not take them away. I see an economy that grows from the middle out and the bottom up, where the wealthy pay their fair share, so we can have child care, paid leave, and so much more, and still reduce the federal deficit and increase economic growth. Folks, imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 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 Are you ready? 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Are you ready to move forward? Well, thank you. We're all ready. We're ready to move forward, not back. Are you ready to choose unity over division, dignity over hate, truth over lies? Are you ready to choose freedom over democracy? We can do this. I give you my word as a Biden, I've never been more optimistic about our future in my entire career. Just remember who we are. I mean this. Think about it. We are the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing, nothing, nothing when we do it together. We got to do it together. God bless you all. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't want to go.
As I was telling you, I said I would do all I could to help you save your country. And I live here. I have a little stake in it. And not just me and my followers and family. You don't ride on a ship and try to sink it. Even if it ain't yours, and even if you gonna part ways when you get to where that ship is headed, you still want the ship not to sink. Do you understand? So, unless you can show me that I'm wrong about something, then I'm going to assume, since I can't find nothing wrong with what I'm doing and the stand that I have taken, I'm going to keep taking this stand. Do you understand? I was looking at some clips from Babylon 5, and I would like you to let's see here. Where's that at? I had kept a clip here that I want to play it for you. Let's see here. Put the what's the name up there for me? And I'm gonna read it to them. Because it was, you know, it's amazing how sometimes, well, oftentimes you look at something that was in Hollywood, and you don't realize how much of that is actually mimic of real life. The fair use disclaimer. The copyright laws of the United States recognizes a fair use of copyrighted content. Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act states, notwithstanding the provisions of sections 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or phonorecords or by any other means specified by that section for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. The following video and our YouTube channel is in general, may contain certain copyrighted works that were not specifically authorized to be used by the copyright holders, but which in good faith we know are protected by federal law and the fair use doctrine for one or more of the reasons that we stated above, including non-profit educational purposes. If you have any questions or any specific concerns about this video or our position of applying it to the fair use clause, then as designed and as defined by the copyright laws, then you can reach us at 601-786-1888 or at patentagent1@msn.com. So I want you to, with that in mind, listen to what DeLynn says to the. They had a caste system where you had worker caste, you had religious caste, and you had what they call warrior caste. And she had at some point, because that caste system was, in so many words, broken. It was not living up to what it should have been doing. It was dissolved. And she realized that that was a mistake. And so to dissolve it completely, because then they began to fight amongst themselves and compete for more power than they should have had. Do you understand? And so she came back and she rebuilt it. And she tells them, the religious caste and the warrior caste, they had been the ones in control, really. And the worker caste wasn't able to really have any say-so in anything. But she rebuilt it. And this is where it got interesting, because of what she instructed them, gave them in the way of instructions of how the new council was going to be. They call it the Gray Council. How it was going to be established, so that it would function better. I thought that was very, very enlightening. That, it's amazing how people who don't seem to get it in reality get it fine in fiction. That's why it's called science fiction. It's truth put in a fictional way. It's just like, you notice the average working man. I'll give you an example. My daddy didn't keep up with no news. He was always at work. Do you understand? And when he got home, he was tired and wanted to get some rest. You got people they was asked in this jury pool for Donald Trump. A lot of them hadn't kept up with the news and whatnot, and it's hard to believe, but all you have to do is put yourself in their position, and you can understand how some people just don't watch news. Do you understand? They got a life. It's like people who keep up with sports. It's just like people who follow football, basketball, baseball, or whatnot. If you came up to me and asked me about, I don't know who no quarterbacks and stuff are. I mean, I don't keep up with that. That's not something, something that I would have a knowledge of, because I don't follow that closely like people who are into sports or video games or any of those things. So I can understand how some people just don't care to watch news. Do you understand? So you can find people and put them on juries that, honestly, they being honest when they tell you, well, I ain't got no thought about it either way. I ain't never really thought about it. and they ain't lying. Do you understand? But anyway, as she was breaking it down, how the worker caste, she said that they neither seek to conquer nor convert. Meaning the religious class try to convert people. The worker caste is going forth to conquer. And he said the worker caste does neither. They're not seeking to do either. They just want to build. Do you understand? And so they had been ignored. It's just like the people who build the highways and bridges and all of the things that everybody uses. There ain't nobody in this country that don't use the highway system, that don't need the bridges and don't need the buildings. But most people, they don't give builders a second thought. It's like the people who got factories and whatnot. The people who build those cars. Henry Ford gave them an example. He priced his cars that the people who worked in his factories could afford to buy one. Do you understand? That's just good business sense. You got I've heard of some companies that had what they call profit sharing. They not only pay a good salary, but they give the employees a good incentive to be more productive because they get to share in the increase in profits. Do you understand? And that was I knew someone who worked for a company called Allegan, and they had a profit sharing program. She got paid real good, and at the same time, she had somewhat of stock in it. Do you understand? And so, it's always good. It's like with us, the way that we do this. When one of us have, all of us have. And that's the way it should be. You don't live high off of other people's labor and pat yourself on the back while you robbing them of the same opportunity that they've given you. No, that don't work. It's wrong. It's immoral. I see these people living in mansions. I was looking at that thing on TD Jakes. Got all them big old fine churches, and most of the people that's behind him, they ain't got a decent house. He living in a mansion. I grew up watching that. I knew it was wrong. I knew it was something wasn't right about that. But I didn't dwell on it because I was dead. Beg your pardon? Did I drop the conference room? Okay, well let me go back in.
It just dropped out when I said something. It just dropped as soon as I said something.
Okay. Well, they don't want people to hear this kind of thing. But is another place where I was looking at this same setting. put that disclaimer up there again. The Holy Quran has a, I want you to see this. The Holy Quran says this. This is chapter 2 and the 93rd verse. Just pause it at the beginning. When I'll tell you when to put it up there. You can put the camera back on. It says in chapter 2, verse 93, it says, "And when we made a covenant with you." You remember when Moses brought the 10 Commandments down and found them worshiping the calf when he got back there? Huh? It says, "And when we made a covenant with you and raised the mountain above you, saying, take hold of that which we have given you with firmness, be sincere with it, and obey." They said, "We hear and disobey." And they were made to imbibe the love of the calf into their hearts on account of their disbelief in Moses. Say, evil is that which your faith bids you, if you are believers in what Pharaoh gave you. Do you understand? Say, if the abode of the hereafter with Allah or God is specifically for you to the exclusion of other people, of the people that follow the messengers of God, in this case Moses, then invoke death if you are truthful. Will you put your life on that? You heard the Caucasian that called up and apologized to me. He told me that he believed that I would give my life for what I believe in. Huh? And he wasn't wrong. The Holy Quran says, invoke death if you are truthful. And they will never invoke it on account of what their hands have sent on before. And God knows, Allah knows the wrongdoers. It's just like you get too attached to stuff in this world, it will choke out your faith in Allah. For fear of losing that stuff that your hands made. Do you understand? What you think that test that Satan put on Job was all about? You done blessed the works of his hands. You done put a protection around his house and everything. Take it from him and he'll cuss you to your face. Huh? But Job didn't start worshiping the stuff that he made with his hands. Who guided them hands? Allah did. So Job didn't try to take credit for what he built. He gave credit to where it belonged. All praise is due to Allah. How did I accumulate these things? Allah guided me to these things. Do you understand? When I could not guide myself, Allah guided me. I am the rightly guided one. That's why I'm able to stand up here and talk to the whole world. And even those who are my enemies can't find no way to condemn me, because Allah has guided me into what I should say and how I should say it. Do you understand? So, but this clip that I'm about to show you is from Babylon 5, that it reminds me of what the Holy Quran says about invoking death, because that's what it actually says. It says invoke death if you are truthful. Let me show you here. I just read it to you. In chapter 2, again, let's go to it, and then look at this scene here, and you'll see that somebody grabbed something out the Holy Quran here and put it in in our prayers. We have a prayer that says, surely, and I substituted the word truly. Truly, I have turned myself to thee, O Allah, striving to be upright, to him or to thee who hath originated the heavens and the earth. And I am not of the polytheists. I'm not of those who believe in more than one God, who set up gods with God, as equals with God. Surely, truly, my prayers, my sacrifices, my life, and my death are all for the truth, are all for Allah. Allah is the truth. Do you understand? And so, the prayer is, when the book says invoke death if you are truthful, means if you telling the truth, will you put your life on that? Huh? And if you're not willing to put your life on it, then you don't really believe in what you're saying. I didn't hear you. And this is what this scene that I'm about to show you, put that disclaimer up there. Fair use disclaimer. The copyright laws of the United States recognizes a fair use of copyrighted content. Section 107 of the U.S. Copyright Act states, notwithstanding the provisions of sections 106 and 106A, the fair use of a copyrighted work, including such use by reproduction in copies or phonorecords or by any other means specified by that section for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, including multiple copies for classroom use, scholarship, or research, is not an infringement of copyright. This video that you are about to see on our YouTube channel, in general, may contain certain copyrighted works that were not specifically authorized to be used by the copyright holders. But in accord with the above stated facts of the Copyright Act and laws, we in good faith are protected by federal law and the fair use doctrine for one or more of the reasons owed or enumerated above, including non-profit educational purposes. And if you have any concerns or questions about our use of this material as a teaching aid, then and in accord or being in accord with the fair use clause of the Copyright Act or laws as defined by the copyright law, then what you need to do is give us a call at 601-786-1888, or you can go online and find us at patentagent1@msn.com. And I want you to pay good attention to how when you are challenged on something that you say you believe in, it's like, as I was telling you about, what's his name? General Patton. General Patton didn't send his men out to war. He led them out there. Do you understand? You know, and that is something that whether you agreed with him or not, you had to admire the fact he wasn't asking young men to go out and put their life on the line while he's sitting behind a desk somewhere. Do you understand? And so this is what this reminded me of the value of being a leader instead of an advisor. A leader says, follow me out there. An advisor says, go out there and do so and so and such and so and so. Do you understand? Okay, now watch this.
This is where many of us served, and many of us died. The ancients understood that in war, it is always the young and they must honor the laws set down by the ancients. The leaders of each warring caste would step into the circle. The starfire wheel would open, and its fire would begin to consume them. Those who did not deserve to rule, who would not sacrifice themselves as they asked others to do on their behalf, would escape the fire. The sacrifice of the one who remained, who believed so much in his caste that he would lay down his life for them. That would determine which caste would be dominant among us. This is a violation.
Sir, the call dropped? Well, that doesn't have to wait. Invoke death if you are truthful. I don't hear none of the rest of you all out there that claim you got a true religion saying that you will put your life on what you say. I offered you $50,000 and my life if you can prove that you have a religion that's not mine, but is correct. What are you waiting on? You can be through with me. All you have to do is come in and let me question you about your religious doctrine, and you show me your religion in the Word of God. There has never been but one religion with God. It ain't but one God. And it ain't but one religion, one faith, one baptism, one Lord. Period. Now you go and find these people that's out here claiming that they giving you the guidance from Almighty God. And get them in here. Give them the number to the conference room. Tell them to call in and collect this $50,000 and finally be through with this man standing up lying, saying he's the Son of Man. I mean, that's what you accused me of. You called Jesus a liar when he was here. That liar said so-and-so. Well, come on in here. And this is your chance. Because one thing you can't ever accuse me of is being a liar. If I don't have the true religion, I don't know I don't have it. Now you come and give me the true religion. Anybody typing anything?
No, sir.
Brother Michael, scroll good. I want to make sure that those who may have a disagreement with me may want to share it. Yes.
It looks like they made the stream temporarily unavailable, sir, because of that video. It just came back just now.
I don't know why they would make it unavailable. I played the disclaimer. And the fair use clause does not say that I can't do that. It says I can use it for teaching purposes. I'm waiting on y'all to come in and show me what I'm teaching that's false. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to let you hear some other things from the messenger. You drinking water? Okay. All right, it's all right. Take your time. Take your time, baby brother. All y'all need to drink more water. Don't, you know, most of the people in this country walking around here dehydrated, and I was doing it for 2 years. It's one that, you know, I mean, I had to lay down before. Because my heart speeded up and I didn't know what was wrong. And it just kept happening to me. And finally, you know, I mean, I drive from here to Michigan and might use the restroom one time and didn't have to go bad then. And then when I went, I had a dark stream, you know, looked like my urine had yellow coloring in it. I mean, it's dark. And I never paid it no attention. I used to get on some of the brothers and, man, every half hour you got to go to the restroom. So what's wrong with you? It wasn't nothing wrong with him. It was something wrong with me. So, but anyway, brothers and sisters, the kidneys are very resilient, but you can mess them up. You can mess your whole body up. You know, drink water. Get you some good, clean, pure water, and drink water. Now, the messenger was first. I'm gonna let him describe and define it for you.
he claims that his number is the same as ours. It's got to be the same as ours since we made it. He didn't make himself. We made it. Holy Quran teaches us that God of Islam, Allah, which is his most proper name, because Allah covers it all. But he being a supreme one, they distinguish him by calling him the Medina. An independent God. He's self-sufficient. I want you to know this, God, that the Holy Quran teaches us, coming at the last day in the 22nd surah of the Quran, with the name Medina. It means he's self-independent.
Now what that means is that when people talk to me, or whenever I observe something, I don't need nobody to tell me what I'm looking at. The mind that's in me, Allah made me of a quick understanding. Do you understand? You notice, if you had looked at that, that wouldn't have stayed in your mind like it did mine. Do you understand? How do I know where to go back and get these things? I don't have a photographic memory, but I do have a memory for truth. Things that many people look at. I go through. You ever seen somebody panning for gold? You've seen them on movies. People panning for gold. What are they doing? They sift through the sand and the dirt that they pour in there, and use water, and then they pick out nuggets. Do you understand? I sift through life, and when I find wisdom, I pick it out and put it in my memory. Do you understand? And my mind naturally does that. And then when I see something that reminds me of that nugget, then I'll go back and get that nugget and show it to you. Do you understand? You see? Wisdom does not cease to be wisdom because the person that may have shared it might be a low-down person. Wisdom can come from Donald Trump. I don't if he says something that is intelligent and wise, I will keep it. Do you understand? It's just like W.D. Muhammad. You know I didn't follow him, but I quote him sometime, don't I? To give him credit. And to not to make you think that all of this stuff I just knew it. No, I didn't know it. It's just like one of my sons brought to my attention the value of getting in cold water. And he taught me something. And my son Jabril, when I did that, it did make a cold water, cold shower. It does make you feel better. And it's good for you. And I I heard this one lady talk about showering, and she says she don't always use soap on her body to wash all of its natural oil off. And I thought about that. I said, that makes sense. And you can just rinse yourself off and let that do, so that your skin's natural oil don't get taken away, and your skin won't look wrinkled so quick. Do you understand? So it's many things that you can learn from people if you're not too proud. So I look at TV. If something catch my attention, I look at it. I might sift through there and don't find nothing but every now and then, but that's the way you're paying for gold. Do you understand? Wisdom is more valuable and rather to be sought after than gold. That's what Solomon prayed for. He didn't pray for wealth. He prayed for wisdom. Because you can get wealth and have wealth without wisdom. Donald Trump is proof of that. It's not just Donald Trump, but since everybody know him and know about his bankruptcies and his, just because, some of us, we make the mistake of thinking because we know how to make money that we know how to manage it. But you'll notice, if that was true, then rich people would not have financial advisors. Rich people would not have investment brokers and that kind of thing. Why? Because he knows how to make money, but he hasn't spent a lot of time learning or watching what good investments he could further put his money to use, making more money for him. So he finds somebody who's looking into that, who knows that. And he say, okay, I'm going to give you so much. Go and see what you can make out of it. Do you understand? He gets accountants, real accountants. And he was say, look, I want all the tax breaks I can get, but I don't want the IRS coming up here telling me I owe them some money. So now, whatever we supposed to pay, you get it done, and let's do this. Do you understand? You always, part of being wise is knowing how to delegate authority. And the first step to being wise is knowing your limitations. Some of us, we want to claim authority to do something that we don't have authority to do. You see? And, learn what your limitations are so that you will know what you need to go out looking for in the way of help. The only independent one in the universe is Almighty God Allah. Allah is independent, upon whom we all depend. And who is Allah? Allah is the best knower. It's a wise man who goes out and finds in areas that he's not that familiar with someone who knows it better than him. Then he finds the best knower. And that's who he calls on. We say it all the time, Allah works through people, God works through people, but we don't believe that. So God can't help you because you done forgot God worked through people. you don't like to call on people. So okay, well, how can you say you love God whom you've never seen and you hate people. you hate the people that he worked through. But, okay. So the messenger, he said that I'm independent, and yes, I am. You know, and when it comes to needing a bunch of explanations of what I'm looking at, if I'm watching you, talking to you, you may be saying you meant this or you meant that, but you know, most people they ain't always honest when they tell you what they meant by something. Especially when you see something else, and then they try to rehabilitate themselves. That's one of the reasons why Maya Angelou said this. When somebody shows you who they are, she didn't say when somebody tells you who they are. She said when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. You understand? Now, you want me to tell you how to get people to show you who they are? You want me to do that, right? Well, everybody, don't nobody hardly mind showing themselves to a child. Humble yourself as a child. People will show you. They'll show themselves. Remember when we went to Texas and the man showed himself? He wouldn't have did that if I hadn't humbled myself. Just let people show you who they are.
The question, which one will survive? The war of Armageddon, which is now taking place. We're going into that war, and we're in it now, at this very minute. If you and hang you on trees, then I think you should look at this and think, well, if a male will survive peace, which we have experienced all of our lives, then heaven does not give us no trouble. This troublemaker was made of the nature of making trouble. When his God made him, he made him, and he said to him, after he had made him, go to her and make all the mischief that you can before the coming of the Mahdi. Who is the Mahdi? Is the God we call Allah, we call him other names, but he is the one. Also, that is referred to us in our Bible that will come. Mahdi means a name of self-independence. The man don't rely on others. He's self-independent. And he's one that's coming in the last day to bring about the judgment of the made man. And he's referred to by many as being the Son of Man. I don't know whether I should tell you all of this or not.
They didn't even think about the fact that he had told them that Master Farad Muhammad was the Son of Man. Then he comes back and says that this Mahdi, the Mahdi, he's referred to as many as being the Son of Man. He said, I don't know if I should tell you all this or not. Huh? So, but now I'm here. And I'm not a child anymore.
except for a child of God. And I will always be that. That's why I can always learn, because I will always humble myself as a child to the truth. You notice, the man didn't notice that I gave him a chance last night to share the truth with me. He said that he knew people who had died from the vaccine. That it had been people dying from the vaccine. That's the news he brought me. Allah told me that if an unrighteous person brings you news, well, anybody that's in this world is unrighteous. There ain't none righteous. No, not one. That's what the book say. So if an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it. So I looked carefully into it. I simply said, have you've seen somebody or know somebody who died from being vaccinated? He said no. And I told him, well, don't bring me no gossip in here. Then he wants to argue about the word gossip. Do you understand? You know, if you don't have a way of proving something that you say, even if it's a fact, it's not a fact to you, because you can't prove it. Do you understand? So you should not bring it up as subject matter. That's something you should not bring up until you have researched and developed in your mind the factual way to prove what you say, so that you don't be deemed to be foolish, speaking things that you do not really understand. Huh? Okay. So I tell all of you, I humble myself to the truth. When you bring me the truth, you ain't gonna find me trying to argue back at you. There is no way to defeat the truth. If it's the truth, there's no way to defeat it. And it's foolhardy to attempt to. Do you understand? You cannot defeat the truth. You can only be manifested to be a liar when you try to say of the truth that the truth is not. It is not truth. There's never a time when the truth is not the truth. Okay. Now, there are things that people view as truth that are temporarily misunderstood. But once something becomes a fact, there is no change in that. Do you understand? Just like men can't fly. Well, that was never the truth. The proper statement would have been, men cannot fly at this time. Do you understand? Now that would have been the truth. But to say man can't fly, that was always a lie. It just gave the appearance of being the truth because at that point in time, man had not learned to fly. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to let you go, and may Allah bless us. What is it?
I have a question from Sister Medina, and she says, I don't believe I introduced myself. I'm Medina, the younger sister of Sister Naomi.
I knew that.
And she says she had another question about the word anti-Semitic, and she says, how accepting do you think the world would be if the word anti-Semitic had to forevermore include and no longer exclude Arabic-speaking people, Muslims?
Well, first of all, anti-Semitic is to be anti any
human being other than black people, because we're the only people that didn't come from someone else's semen. We're the only created people on earth. So all other people are Semitic people. They came out of the semen of the black man. And so you started off on a false premise. Semitic does not mean what they tried to tell you it meant. Semitic means that you originated not from the earth, but from the semen of the man the original man who originated from the earth. And you originated from his semen. And all of the people on the black, the brown, yellow, and white people are Semitic people. They came out of our semen. And so that's that. Was there something else? Okay. And may Allah bless us, keep us safe, and in our right minds. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.
I didn't erase the other recording. It was recording before. I didn't restart it back because it went right over there.